Tier 1 for round 7 for the Hungarian Grand Prix around the Hungaroring. Here today, last time out we saw a full wet race around Spa, and we saw Jesse taking the lead on track, but not the lead after his penalties. He had a lot of penalties racking up, meaning by the end he didn't quite finish in the lead, but it was a very entertaining race. And after that race we still saw XD leading, but we saw the gap between him and H. Taylor come right on down. And then not far behind you still got the likes of Short Marcus, I believe, and then SpongeBob, also a driver, closing those guys right on in. But you still got the Alphas leading the constructors, but yeah, SpongeBob has found himself up to P3, so he's now found himself in the top 3 for these guys. But we get all the information up that we need. First driver to go for a lap, we do have Jesse. Race winner on track last time out, but not the case this time. Where's the Ferrari? The Ferrari might actually, H. Taylor is actually first, so run on board with him as he comes around on a set of softs. But Paul Harrison, actually the first driver, he does a 16.4 to set the pace. Pole position in tier 2 was a 15.9, so we should be looking at possibly 14s for pole position this time out. Jesse flying in his Aston Martin. He's now got a permanent drive in tier 1, so we'll see him in the Aston Martin week in week out now, as he has been given that permanent seat after showing some very good performances as a reserve, showing that he is tier 1 pace. And as H. Taylor retires and he's out of qualifying without setting a lap, P2 in the championship, just like that he is out. So devastating for someone who wants to be getting onto the back of XD for the lead, but it happens and you have to move on and try to do better lap later on. But Jesse's setting a new provisional pole time of a 15.2. Next car to come around will be the Ferrari of XD, who's actually in the chicane. So it'll be the Ferrari of Troye. He does a 19 flat, so not a quick lap for him, and you can see he's going slow there, so he's not going to improve. Next driver coming around the last corner now, we have the Red Bull of Antonis Bile, lagging all over the place, but across the line it's going to be P4 with a 20.5. Not a quick lap from him either. SpongeBob just moved himself up to P3 in the championship, puts in a 15.5. We said how I saw him a lot in the midfield, but not so much at the front, and he proved me wrong. He's showing he's a front running driver now, and showing that he's not a driver to be messed with, because he is very quick indeed. XD puts in a 16.6 on a set of medium tires, so you improve that when he goes onto softs. Town does a 15.8 on his set of on a set of softs. He puts himself P3 in the Mercedes. Only one AlphaTauri car in this race. The leaders in the constructors by a good amount. They've been leading for quite a while now. They've got the exact same lead over the rest of the people that Alfa Romeo do over Red Bull in tier 2, but close behind them is Ferrari, and they do have 2 drivers in. Troye now with a permanent seat at Ferrari. So 2 drivers have now been given permanent seats, and will be looking to put their name in the championship a bit more. We saw we've seen Jesse put in some mega performances. We've seen Troye, he stepped in the AlphaTauri a few times. He's put in some amazing performances. He got the win at Portimao, so the second race of the season. He did get the win, first race reserving for the second AlphaTauri driver of Cario Racing. But now he's got the permanent seat at Ferrari, and he can start to earn some points for himself and for his team. Paul Harrison on a flying lap. Imagine he'll be coming in. He is the second down, so he will be in. He won't still be pushing. One who is still pushing though, Antonis Bile in the other Red Bull car, coming through the chicane. Now you're going to want to brake at the side of the curb, bring it in, clip this, really focus on getting a good exit out of this. Don't cut it too much. Runs it a bit wide there, but you're going to brake just at the digital flag, bring it in, all the exit, bring it back, and then again using all the exit you can. Don't run too wide because that will be an invalidation. Remember, these softs are quite worn. Softs drop off almost instantly. You'll notice that they do so after just a few laps on those soft tyres. They will go. I'd manage to, you can make them last quite a while, maybe like 12-13 laps, but by like 7 or 8 or even 6, depending on how good you are with tyre wear, they start to feel terrible. Anthony's coming across the line now, and it's going to be an improvement. It's going to be a 16.9 on a set of old soft tyres, and he puts in his first flying lap. CDM commentator who did commentate, stepped in and commentated for Tier 2. He puts himself P8 on a set of mediums with a 17.1. The only other driver to do a lap so far in a set of mediums was XD. He's on a 16.6, who's 5 tenths over his pace. Mitch puts himself P4 in the Red Bull with a 16.1 on a set of softs. But again, you'll see a lot of these times being improved, and a lot of these drivers going a lot quicker. George, he starts his lap on a set of mediums. He'll be looking to go quicker. KRC validated his lap, so he's going to start another flying lap on those set of soft tyres. Mitch, he's done a 16.1, and it looks like he's pretty happy with that for the time being. He's not pushing too hard. He's letting the overtake button save, the overtake save, and he might try again later. But for now, looks like he's going to be coming in. Anta's also going to be coming in, so both Rebels coming in for the time being. A CDM in, so a lot of drivers coming in, but there's also a few on their flying laps. George, one of those on a flying lap, he's invalidated, so he's not going to be going quicker. KRC in the other McLaren, struggling to get a lap down, he's also invalidated, and the other two drivers will be in. So looking like, but almost everybody is going to be in the pits. Short Marcus, another person who comes out, he's now got a permanent teammate in Jesse, so we might see Aston Martin start to do a rise up the Constructors' Championship with a strong driver of Jesse. Both these guys, Short Marcus winning the opener, and Jesse showing he has winning pace, and I believe winning a race early in the season, winning Abu Dhabi, from what I remember. A race I was unfortunately not able to commentate, so I wasn't there, but I do believe so. Both these Aston Martin drivers race winners, whereas the current championship leaders, neither of them are race winners at the time being. I don't believe so. I could be wrong there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe any of them are race winners. Paul Harrison now starts another flying lap on his set of soft tyres. He's going to be flying in the Williams. Williams haven't had the performance so far this season that they wanted, but they've gotten enough. They've been in the top 10 enough to get a decent amount of points, but I'm sure they'll be looking to go further up in the season with some decent drivers. But they are last in the Constructors. Every team has gotten points, but I'm sure they'll want to improve that position. Red Bull, the team just ahead of them in ninth, but they've got two decent drivers which could be getting more points. We saw Mitch leading or contesting for a lead previously in the season. It wasn't Abu Dhabi that I missed, because I believe it was Abu Dhabi that Mitch came through and almost won, but lost it in the final few laps and dropped himself right on down. Not what he would have wanted, but he's shown since then that he's got the pace to still be up there. Short Marcus pushing on his set of softs, but you can see that he has invalidated his lap, so he'll sit back, hold off, and go again. I'm sure he knows he has a lot more time in that 17 flat. He did mention that he hasn't got any practice in, so this is his practice here. He comes into the pits, and I'm sure he'll wait to the end of the session to go out for one more flying lap. There is time for him to go out again, do a flyer, come in. Paul Harrison improves to a 15.7, so good lap for him to put in P3 in the Williams, looking to get Williams further up in the Constructors, get him off the bottom spot, off the bottom spot. Aston Martin, a team I want to start keeping a good eye on throughout these next few races with Jesse in the team. They're currently 6th in the Constructors, 12 points off of Mercedes, just ahead. If they can keep getting some decent finishes, they could find themselves flying right on up the standings. But these drivers very much going to be looking to push their team further up. although most of these guys will be going for the Drivers' Championship, it's always good to see yourself up there in the Constructors as well. If you're up there in the Drivers, you're usually up there in the Constructors either way. But you see XD on a flying lap, he's going to be looking to get further up. Of course, he doesn't really have to worry that much because he's got H. Taylor all the way down in P12 without a lap, because he binned his lap and he put it in the wall, so he was out of this qualifying session. XD has binned this lap though, so the next driver we got just behind him is Antonis By in the Red Bull, looking to get a bit more points. Most of the points from Red Bull have came from Mitch, but so most of the points came from Mitch, but Anthony Spite has shown a few out there performances showing that he is quite a good driver, and he can be a good driver when he wishes to be but he hasn't invalidated his lap, and you can just see now what drivers are going to be getting penalties and what drivers are going to not be getting penalties in the race. Getting penalties can very much ruin your race. We saw 3 safety cars in Tier 2 with reduced safety car settings, so it very much could be another chaotic Grand Prix here. Of course, these drivers much quicker, much more sensible than Tier 2 is, but doesn't mean that they can't make mistakes. El Shakal put himself P9 in the Alpine, the 17 flight. I'm sure he'll know that he can improve that. He did a 16.7 in Tier 2 as his qualifying lap, but I know he knew he could even beat that lap a bit more. So the time to beat still 15.2 from Jesse. He's on a flying lap, so he's going to be looking to improve. First sector split is currently 10th out with the 26.7 to the first sector, so it's a very good first sector. You see if I'm flying through now. Chicane, difficult to get, but if you get it right, can gain you a lot of time. You can see just how much curve he uses and just how much speed he carries through there. Does it absolutely perfect. Brakes, bring it over, and then again bring it back. Don't use too much exit. You'll invalidate. The Red Bull goes off the track to make sure he gets out of the way, but that corner's flat out, so he doesn't have to get off so much, but he runs a bit wide there. It's not going to be enough to invalidate the lap. He's still flying a 10th up at the moment, and the other, it's a Ferrari getting off track there. So you can see he's still flying to the last sector now. Next car ahead of him, that would be the Alpine of El Shakal, as there's no other Alpine in this race, but he'll come up to the line now. Jesse does a 15.2, but improves just a little bit more to do, and slightly quicker lap. And you know, just those hundreds, those thousands even, can get you a much higher position in this. CDM improves to a 15.9 to go P5 for the time being. Mitch, the driver who's just started his flying lap, he's going to be looking to go quicker. Not many other guys on flyers. Short Marcus, he is on a fly. He's done a 17 flat so far, but he's gonna want to improve. He knows he can go quicker than that, and I'm sure he will. He's coming, flying through the second sector now. Going to the third sector. He's over a second up. This could put him possibly P4. He wants to get himself back up to P3 in the championship. He wants to put himself back in that championship fight. I'm sure he's going to try and do that here, but of course it's got to beat SpongeBob, who's in P2 at the moment. He's the best of the top 3 with XD quite far down, and H. Taylor getting not quite being able to do much in the qualifying session after being taken out, but he does do a 15.5 and put himself just ahead of SpongeBob. So it's what did I say? Keep a close eye on this Aston Martin pairing now with Jesse and the team. They are now 1 to provisional 1-2 for the time being, but a lot of drivers will be coming to the pits now, getting ready for their final laps in this qualifying session. Mitch on a fly at the moment. Activate DRS. Look cool, like does a 15.9, puts himself P6, just barely ahead of CDM, just 7 thousandths in fact ahead of the McLaren driver, but not many other drivers coming towards the end of their lap now. Town in the Merc currently on a lap, but George in the other Merc, he's the closest to the line now. He's also on a lap. XD is coming up to start his lap. Oh, but he just couldn't catch it. He lost it once, he lost it again, he tried to catch it, and he tried to catch it again, and then he was just in the wall. That is George out of qualifying and absolute devastation as he sits on the side of the track. And I'm sure that may ruin a few drivers' laps as they will have to go slow to make sure to avoid that. But XD is in the first sector. We could keep an eye on him. He's ninth. He would not be happy with ninth, not at all. With H. Taylor DNFing, this was his chance to get a huge advantage on him. He does 26.8 through the first sector. Decent first sector. It has a bit of time for improvement, but it's good enough for the time being. 3 tenths up on his previous time, so he lost a bit of time last time. You can see just how well he takes that chicane, and just see, even by qualifying lap, why he's currently leading the championship and just how quick he is. Driver ahead of him, George, is 5 tenths off the road with a 16th lap. And of course, remember, XD did this lap 16.6 on a set of medium tyres. 8 tenths up now he is. This is so far good enough for what looks to be P6. He improved by enough though. He might just be able to clip short markers and spoil the Aston Martin 1-2. He's not going to be able to come in, set a fresh set of softs and then go out again. So this may just about be his last flying lap in qualifying. Up to the line, does put a P2, just barely ahead of short markers. Spoils Aston Martin 1-2. Neither of the Aston Martins go out again, so XD spoils the 1-2 for them, but still Aston Martin showing they are a team to reckon with now that they have the likes of Jesse permanently in their team. SpongeBob though, P4 for the time being, third in the championship, pushing to get himself ahead of XD. He wants to make sure he's finishing ahead of championship leader constantly now to put himself right in it. He's quite far back due to some poor early rounds, but after turning up late, he has put himself right up there in the championship. Still, he's coming flying now through the second sector. He puts in a purple middle sector there, 3 tenths up. That's enough for possibly pole position here. He is flying, SpongeBob, absolutely flying out of the. He'll come through the last corner now. Will this be a pole position lap out of last corner? Jesse is done for qualifying, so if it is, that is it, and he does do it. It's a 15-1 and provisional pole for SpongeBob. XD won't be going in again. Troye won't be going again. Every driver is done. XD has the chance to go again, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. I think it is over for quali. I think we got an extra few minutes due to joining late, but that is the grid as it is. As you see here, that is how the grid is. So a beautiful lap from SpongeBob, puts himself on pole position, and after a few races ago I said that he was a midfield driver. He is showing very much he is a force to be reckoned with, and puts himself ahead of Jesse on the last lap to put in a beautiful qualifying lap in the AlphaTauri. We just wait on XD now to finish, and then it should move him right on by. Just waiting on XD. Is he coming in the pits? Is he in the pits? I don't know. I have to wait on XD, but that is the grid set, and what a qualifying session that was. We have to give that to SpongeBob. A beautiful lap he just put together. So with that being said, that is your qualifying grid, and that is why AlphaTauri currently lead the constructors, because of drivers like him constantly putting it up the top here with an absolute beautiful lap. I thought Jesse 100% had pole position, but SpongeBob showing you can never say never in motorsport until it is over. Troye, he's doing the same thing he did around Portimao. Let's keep a close eye on him around here. He puts the car P10 on a set of medium tyres with 1.1 seconds off the pole position time, but of course those medium tyres you probably lose like 7-8 tenths maybe, so he could very much be up there and come flying through, depending on whether there's rain or not in the race. It's looking quite sunny in qualifying, but we'll have to see as we come through to the race. So it is SpongeBob who took pole position ahead of Jesse, ahead of XD. All three very quick drivers, but exactly what SpongeBob would have wanted, sitting P3, trying to get as much points as possible on XD. He's currently P3, of course, and he's only 20 points off of him, so he's not super far off of him. If they finish where they are, he'll be 10 points by the next round, and then you don't have short markers that far behind. All the drivers at this stage of the season, it's still very close. The season hasn't quite started to split up yet, and it's not over until it is over, until it is mathematically over. The race, the championship is not over. But ATX drivers getting their strategy ready, making sure they have the right fuel in the car, everything they need. It's looking like a sunny day here at Hungary, at the Hungary, but of course you saw in tier 2 it was looking quite sunny at the start, and we still saw rain. So like I said before, never say never, anything is possible, of course. But they're about to get underway now. The time's come to end. We can see all the drivers on the grid. 5 red lights. If Jesse gets a good enough start, he will have the inside line into T1. And the 5 red lights are out, and away we go for the race. It's been a great start from Jesse. He's right up the inside of SpongeBob. But look at XD. XD, he's going to try and shoot it down the inside. Doesn't quite work. There's SpongeBob on the outside. Jesse on the inside. Jesse still has to run, but SpongeBob has gotten quite a good run out of there as well, nonetheless. But he's going to try and shoot back on the inside. He won't be able to shoot back up the inside. He slows down, and Jesse's got a great start to put himself up into the lead. Further back, Mitch up ahead of Paul Harrison now, fighting, going side by side for a bit there. Mitch finds himself up to P6. Elshie Cow and H. Taylor fighting. H. Taylor trying to get himself back up after a poor qualifying session. He finds himself back up in P11 and enters by sitting right back in P14 after some sort of early incident. But we still see these leaders quite close to each other. Jesse from SpongeBob, so you can see the strategy there, either soft to hard or soft to medium. Soft to medium is a possible strategy, but those softs do feel terrible by the end of the stint. I can tell you that. 11 laps on them, oh, they are horrible. By the time you hit around about lap 6, the tyres start to shift and the mediums start to become quicker. That's why we want to keep a close eye on Troyer, but Jesse's showing he has the overall pace, he has the race pace. He's trying to show these guys that that was just a one-off lap from SpongeBob. He did a good lap, but it was just one off, and he will not be able to keep up with Jesse. Mitch making up more positions, though, up to P5 now as Town drops down 2 positions to drop behind Paul Harrison as well in the meantime. But drivers running very, very closely. Town all over the back of him. He's going to go up the inside of Paul Harrison into turn 1. They go side by side, these two drivers. But Paul Harrison still has the inside. There's a bit of a moment from Town. Paul Harrison holds his position. He stays on the offensive line. He doesn't want Town to get around him. He's going to be able to push him out here, so there's enough room to do so. And he holds on to P6 for the time being. Paul Harrison does. As Antonis by DNFs, he is out of the session. Out of the session, he pulls into the pits, retires in the pit lane, so he is done already. He's having absolutely none of it. But you see Jesse already pulled outside a second. SpongeBob needs to be absolutely pushing right now, trying to close up to Jesse. He needs to stay within a second of him to the point where DRS is activated, because when that happens he can relax a bit more in DRS and just stick behind him and try to outplay him, strategy, save his tyres, maybe pit for an undercut. You never know. Paul Harrison though, side by side with Mitch, up the inside he goes. Look at these two drivers running side by side. Oh, and they're gonna keep going. They're holding Town up just a treat, but these guys are still side by side into the final corner. Mitch deep on the brakes. He's gonna hold around the outside, but Paul Harrison has just enough to squeeze him out here. But they can still come back at him. As he goes down the inside, Mitch does, and he's gonna find himself up into P5, or holding on to P5, I guess. But he still holds the inside. Paul Harrison does not give the move up. Or there's a bit of contact. He's going to spin. He goes a bit too deep. Oh, and he's around, and there's a bit more contact from another driver. But he isn't out of this race. But there's going to be a bit of side pod damage there, and he's got wing damage. Unfortunate for Paul Harrison, and not what he would have wanted for the Williams team or for himself, as DRS has been enabled this lap, as obviously would be, and SpongeBob still sitting just outside a second of Jesse. The opening lap wasn't the best, so he wasn't able to stick on the back of him. Unfortunately, he would have liked to be ahead, because at least if he got past, he would have had track position. But the two McLaren drivers switching positions there. CDM drops down to P11. KLC still P10. There's a 3-second time penalty for El Shikau. Already pick up a penalty, just 3 laps and not what you would have wanted. George going up another position as CDM loses another, so there must be some sort of issues. You can see there he's missing an end plate, so he does have front wing damage. He will be in. Not sure what happened there, but very unfortunate scenes for the McLaren driver. But look at this, H. Taylor all over the back of Troye. I said watch out for Troye on the mediums. What about H. Taylor looking to take the lead? He'll go down the inside of Troye here and take the lead on the alternate strategy as CDM retires the car. He is out of this race. He's going to instantly go defensive, but he's got DRS. He doesn't have anything to worry about. Paul Harrison speeds in the pit lane. There's an extra 5 seconds to his name, and H. Taylor finds himself up to P7 in this race, and very much what he needed. But look at up front, SpongeBob has gained a massive gap here, and he's in DRS range of the Aston Martin of Jesse. So very much what SpongeBob needed. He had an off first lap, but after that he's shown some great pace indeed. El Shakow's just DNF'd. He's been to 3 cars out, and that is a safety car already. So maybe throw some spinner in the works. Maybe it be an early pit stop onto a set of hards, or do drivers stay out, or maybe even onto mediums. Maybe drivers choose to pit early for the 2-stop in the race. We don't know, so we'll come around to the pits. We will see what will happen, but this is a bit of a refresh for Jesse. SpongeBob just got into his DRS, but now Jesse will have to save the car restart to pull back a gap on him, and Jesse does come in. He does. He is going to switch tyres. SpongeBob's going to do the same. XD's going to do the same. Short Marcus is going to double stack. He's going to do the same. Town's going to do the same. The whole field's doing it. Mitch is going to do the same. But H. Taylor and Troy will stay out, and they will take the net leads in this race. And well, there are 2 drivers there that could be sitting very, very low in this race. Jesse's gone on to a set of mediums, but he's going to have to pit again. XD's gone on to a set of hards. He's plans on firming it to the end. But these drivers out front, so we've got mediums, those 2 drivers are going to have to pit again. Hards for XD, Short Marcus going on to a set of he's gone on to a set of hards, mediums, and then hards. So a lot of these drivers just go on, just said, you know what, screw it, let's 2-stop this race. And that's exactly what a lot of these drivers will be doing. Onto 2 sets of mediums is what I'd be doing, or if you really like the soft tyre that much, you can go medium soft, but I don't like the soft tyre at all, so I'd be going medium. But these drivers up front have now found themselves at full advantage, because everybody now only has 1 more pit stop in this race, or at least 1 more planned pit stop, except for the hard tyre runners. So whether the hard strategy works out for him or not, we'll have to see. It really depends on whether there's another safety car or not, or whether the 2-stop, if the hard tyre just sucks so much to the point where the mediums have that much of an advantage that the 2-stop becomes that much quicker. But H. Taylor very, very much leading ahead of Troy now. Good stuff for H. Taylor after losing it in qualifying and not being able to settle out, to come back and be P1 after just 5 laps. It's insane. Of course, safety car helped him out massively to help him lead, but that is perfect scenario for the likes of H. Taylor and Troy. And you got KRC's found himself out to P3 in this race, and then you got the start of the guys who pit Jesse. These guys will be coming through on their fresher tyres. We'll see KRC be overtaken quite quickly, as he is on a worn set of hards. Only 4 laps old, so they're not that old, but they're old enough for Jesse to have a big advantage. And this could help SpongeBob if Jesse gets held up too much being behind the car. SpongeBob might be able to go past him. See these guys doing some big waves going left to right, but I wouldn't have. For people who are retired in the pit lane, I'm sure they'll be kicking themselves now, because they would have been on the back of everyone. But Paul Harrison, with his 5 seconds, he's going to be kicking himself at the back of the grid. If I was him, I would have made another pit stop. You probably still would have caught the safety car. You could have gone, he actually did go into a set of halves, but he could have gotten rid of the 5-second penalty for speeding in pit lane. But 3 drivers so far have penalties. Surprisingly, actually, Short Marcus has a penalty. George has a penalty, and so does Paul Harrison. Short Marcus must have been for speeding in the pit lane. If we can we can actually check what that is, check the incidences, and we can see here where is Short Marcus speeding in the pit lane, 5-second time penalty. So that is where his penalty came from in this race, and nonetheless, but safety car, I imagine, will be in this lap. If you go back up front, you can see there is the safety car. There is H. Taylor leading ahead of it. Just a second behind him is Troye. Both these guys are going to be wanting to warm up the tires a lot. Thing I saw recurring a lot on the safety car restarts is cold tires. It's really hard to keep them nice and warm over the course of the whole lap without them overheating. We're not running at full race pace, but of course these guys will be running different pressures. Depending on what pressures you're running, it could make it a bit easier to warm the tires, but if you're going over longer stints you might find yourself overheating. But you can see driver's getting ready to go. Hey Shayla, he's going to weave. When is he going to go? It looks like he is about to go out of the final corner, and he has just about gone now, as he does lead ahead of Troye, but Troye all over the back of him already. He's not giving up, but then look at that, Jesse already all over the back of the Haas driver. Troye looks to the inside, doesn't quite make it work. McLaren, Aston on the inside, he gives him a right old squeeze, and it's not going to work out for the McLaren driver. He drops all the way down to P7, but it's worked out perfectly for Jesse, because it means he's gotten past the likes of Troye, but Troye still on the inside, and Jesse gives him no room, and it means that Troye now around, and he drops himself all the way down to P9. He's just gone. He is out. Gone, absolutely gone, not having any of it. But XD then on the outside of Short Mark's on the set of hards. Look at these guys go. Jesse already finds himself up to P2, perfect for H. Taylor, but very much a lot of aggression there. We saw the McLaren of KRC give Jesse just a bit too much of a squeeze, but it meant that he lost it. The Ferrari driver ahead went, so Jesse was able to get through, but then Jesse gave XD a bit too much of a squeeze, meaning that XD hit the inside and lost it. So it's unfortunate for those guys who were looking quite good. Actually, it was Troye who lost it, sorry, but it's unfortunate for those guys who were looking quite good, were looking to be in a decent position, but in the end it hasn't quite worked out for him how they would have wanted it to. Jesse has a few laps now to catch up to H. Taylor. H. Taylor has some good pace apparently. After seeing his pace, it has been quite good, but fresher medium tyres, 5 laps fresher his tyres are, will he be able to make a dent in the in H. Taylor's lead? And it looks like he is. The tyres really coming to advantage now, showing just how much pace those tyres do have. Absolutely pushing behind H. Taylor in the Hash again, trying to show that Aston Martin now a team to be reckoned with, a force to be reckoned with, and showing that Aston Martin not to be messed with the two drivers now. With Jesse behind the wheel, they're going to see themselves rocket up the field indeed. But XD has found himself in P4. That would be something interesting. Of course, he's the lead driver on the hards. He's dropped out of DRS range, but he's on the hard tyres. He's going to be going to the end. These drivers ahead most likely will be two stopping. There is no way they will make it to the end on those medium tyres. Medium tyres just don't last that long. 31 laps is insane amount to ask out of the medium tyres. But coming out of the final corner now, Taylor leading ahead of Jesse. DRS will be activated coming onto this lap. There it is. There is the message from race control. DRS is enabled, but of course they weren't able to have it to the following lap, unfortunately, so they have to go around again, and then DRS will be there. But judging by the pace from Jesse, that won't be a problem. He may try and move earlier than the DRS zone, but if I was him, I'd stay behind, chill for a bit, and then go straight on past. But then there's also the opportunity. There is also the problem if SpongeBob catches up too much. What Jesse would be trying to do is get ahead of H. Taylor, throw H. Taylor at SpongeBob and throw a gap. Use H. Taylor as a blockade, basically, to push back the Alpha Tauri driver. You can see they just ride on each other with H. Taylor caught up, with H. Taylor holding these guys and Jesse caught up behind him. It's allowing SpongeBob to keep around the back, and so SpongeBob might even get past H. Taylor as well in DRS. If these guys go side by side in the T1, it will really back them up into SpongeBob, and SpongeBob can make the move either into turn 2 or he can lead around. He might make it somewhere else in the lap, but he's going to want to get past the moment Jesse does. If he stays behind for a full lap, Jesse will pull enough of a gap and pull him out of DRS, and that's when it becomes a struggle for SpongeBob. So Jesse's in a really good position, but you can see SpongeBob's actually closer to Jesse than Jesse's to H. Taylor. He's using a lot. It looks like he was using the overtake for a bit there. He's not using it anymore. He has a look to the inside. It doesn't work, and you can see there goes Jesse to the inside. Two drivers go side by side. H. Taylor holds the inside line though. He will cut across, and he will still lead from from the Esteban driver, but again to the outside. H. Taylor still on the inside. They still run side by side, the two drivers. And again, oh, is there enough room left? And that is how you leave room. And they bang tyres twice. These guys absolutely going at it. They're still coming up the hill. And Jesse now leads from H. Taylor, but SpongeBob needs to get past H. Taylor instantly. He cannot stay behind this Hash driver too long. He has a little look into the chicane, but of course it isn't going to work into there. Dive bomb to there could mean absolute chaos for these drivers. XD still leading on the hard tires. You can see these guys behind absolutely going out, and the Merc has a little bit of a moment there. Town drops down to P8, but these guys still leading. SpongeBob now out of DRS range of Jesse. H. Taylor is just about to be outside DRS range, but George, 3-second time penalty, another 3 seconds to him. He doesn't need those penalties stacking on, because they could mean the end of his race if they do keep doing so. But H. Taylor still has DRS, so if SpongeBob can just quite easily get past H. Taylor here, he won't have to worry too much. He just needs to use his ERS, waste it all, and get past when he can. But look at that gap, it's just a bit too big. It looks close enough from here, but when you look on board with the driver, it is nowhere near close enough. But look how deep he goes on the brakes. He's going to try and bring it back. Maybe now he'll be able to get it, but you can see there on board, he still won't be able to get it. So he's got to sit behind another lap behind the Hash. So the more laps he has to sit behind the Hash driver, the more it's going to be killing him. It would be better off for him if H. Taylor just drops just about outside DRS range of Jesse, and meaning that SpongeBob can go right on past, even if it means SpongeBob's just outside DRS for the time being. We saw he was able to close up to Jesse's DRS quite easily before. Just one little mistake from Jesse and he closed up. So we wouldn't be wrong to expect the same again. But drivers absolutely going for it here up front, and you shouldn't expect much less from these guys when fighting for the lead. You're gonna give it your all, and you can see just on the edge of DRS now H. Taylor. So if Jesse pushes enough through this last sector, he might drop out. You can see they're coming up to the DRS zone here. Just up here is where the detection zone is, and another safety car. Despite being unreduced, safety cars very common around here, and you can see there another safety car, and it's just helped H. Taylor a treat, so he can come in, set a hard tires. But of course at the same time it hasn't, because now he's got to run hards to the end, whereas these drivers behind him all coming in for a fresh set of medium tires. So this has just hurt the likes of SpongeBob and Jesse against someone who they need to be beating, XD. You cannot forget about XD. He is showing that he has pace, and is going to continue to show that lots of XD. But SpongeBob and Jesse will be very angry with the safety car at the moment for coming out at that time, because it means that every single car behind him, all the way down to Troy Yates of KRC, who stayed out, has fresher tires than him, or exactly fresh tires. Everybody behind him has fresher tires, but everybody behind him except for KRC just pit onto those fresher tires. So these guys are going to be struggling off the side. Of course, H. Taylor though is on his fresh tires are hards, so he won't be firming it to the end. He'll be, I mean, H. Taylor will be firming it to the end, but these guys won't be firming it to the end. So that's going to be the struggle. They've still got to make a full other pit stop, but they should be able to pull enough of a gap on H. Taylor and just work together in DRS pool. If they can get a safety car around about when they have to pit, they'll be looking fine. But honestly, if I were them, I'd be either praying for a safety car, or I'd be coming in now for another set of medium tires, just so that I don't have to make that extra pit stop again later. Although it does he fakes him, but SpongeBob makes a choice to actually come in, so he's going to drop right down to last place, unfortunately. But it means he doesn't have to pit again, and he'll be one to look out for as he comes flying through the field. Both you can see Mitch there is on our penalty. Only driver with a penalty right now is Mitch, which is surprising. Of course, the other driver with a penalty was George, but he's now out of the race. I'm sure a lot of these drivers won't. A lot of these guys will be happy with the safety car, and a lot won't be. It's brought Troy back into it, but he's opted for the hards. So people still opting for fresh hards. Mitch opting for hards. Troy opting for hards. SpongeBob opting for hards, although they could quite easily make mediums last till the end. So it's interesting to see the mix of strategy, despite in what looks to me like quite an easy no stop to the end. But some of these drivers thinking that mediums won't last and choosing not to change the tyres. But one who does think the mediums will last is Jesse, who's out in front, but I don't think his tyres will last. I do think some of these guys' tyres will last, but I don't think his will be the one. He's 7 laps old, so that's a lot of laps. He's going to be doing 31 laps on a set of mediums. Whether some of these laps were behind safety car or not, that is a lot of laps to do on a set of medium tyres, and to keep yourself up there, it's just it is a lot to do. But the drivers will be getting back underway soon, so it won't be long until these guys get going once again. And here they go, the safety car is in. Jesse leads the field from H. Taylor. He gets away quite easily from the rest of these guys. SpongeBob right over on the back of Troyer instantly though. Troyer obviously ghosting, as he is a ghost car. He's not actually driving that car, but you can see just how close these drivers are, and look at the difference between the medium and the hard tire. No matter the pace, there's quite a big difference from it, and there'll be quite a big difference all the way to the end. So it's going to require a lot from these drivers to find themselves higher up. But guys still all over each other here. You can see Town all over the back of Mitch, absolutely pushing the car through. You can, again, the difference between the medium and the hard tires is massive. It's not that big obviously, but when you consider 8 tenths or so is quite a big gap in racing when they're fresh. Although it's not the biggest gap you'll see between the two tires, it's a big gap nonetheless. But you still got Jesse leading on his medium tires. His medium tires will still have a slight advantage over H. Taylor, so if he can pull enough of a gap, he should be just fine. But XD not letting it happen. Looks to the inside. It isn't going to happen there. He'll sit behind again. I'm sure he'll activate ERS. You can see there on his dash, he's activating his ERS. He's activating his overtake. He's not going to get enough of a drive though. Short Marcus not far behind him. So this is really bringing Short Marcus right back on into the fight, and it's really helped out. It's helped out a few drivers. It's hindered a few drivers, but to see a difference in strategy is very, very interesting. There's another safety car. Again, it could completely here we go. So it could completely change up the field again, but I don't think we'll see another safety car. The conditions just aren't bad enough, and it doesn't look like it's going to rain anytime soon. But never say never, of course. For all we know, it could come out of nowhere and it could start pouring right now. But you can see DRS will be activated as they come into this next lap, and Taylor still in DRS range of Jesse, but it's still a lap for Jesse to pull that away. And it doesn't look like he's doing it. It looks like H. Taylor just has enough pace, which is very much a problem for XD behind him, because XD's got the fresher tyres, he's got the pace advantage. As Mitch drops right on down the field, he's gone wide, he's down to P9 unfortunately, but he's going to drop right on down. We've still got H. Taylor on the back of Jesse here. Both Aston Martins still in a team that we're going to have to start keeping an eye on. Only one AlphaTauri in this race, and that's SpongeBob, and he's all the way down in P8 now due to the incidences. But of course, anyone who finishes the race now will finish in the points, as long as they finish due to enough DNFs to allow that to happen. But these guys will not be giving up. They'll be pushing as hard as possible to get past Jesse. H. Taylor going to be absolutely driving the tyres off of those hards. If he can stay in the DRS of Jesse and just run with him, he should be fine. So by the time Jesse pits for another set of mediums, his hards will still be at a disadvantage, but nowhere near as big as the disadvantage that they are now. You can see all the way down the field as the field starts to spread up further down, but these guys right up front, this is the closest we're going to see. All four up front in DRS range, two of them Aston Martins. Jesse qualified P2, and he's currently in the lead. You can see weaving to the inside, not giving them slipstream. They can have DRS, he says, but they're not getting my slipstream. He looks to the inside, but XD looks even further to the inside, but the move isn't going to happen in there. It was an audacious move for XD. He tried it, but it didn't quite work in the end for him. We still want to keep an eye on SpongeBob, but it's just coming through the field further down. But look at this, Paul Harrison pushing KRC through the through the first sector now, pushing him as they will come up to the sector split up here, and this is allowing the likes of SpongeBob to close up. If SpongeBob can get himself through and up into P6, he can still do something here. He can still beat Jesse, but as I say that, he picks up a 3-second time penalty. It doesn't mean it's over for him. It just means it's going to be more difficult. Jesse still has to make it another pit stop. He won't make those he won't make those medium tires last year, and he should have pitted with SpongeBob. SpongeBob made a bold decision to pit, but he did do so. If he didn't, he would have been just behind Jesse now. But you can see, look at the difference. Even the hard tire is now quicker than those 11 lap old mediums. He runs wide there, gets a good exit on purpose, but H. Taylor is all over the back of him now. You can see him weaving to the inside. No slipstream for you. Aggressive waving. He'll go defensive again. He doesn't want him to go past here. He needs to keep him behind, but H. Taylor will go to the inside. He'll get enough move. Oh, and he gives him absolute squeeze, which allows the XD to have a look on the inside in his Ferrari, but he's then going to be to the outside of the house driver. Jesse's still on the inside, looking to get right back on past, and this is helping his teammate behind him. Short Marcus, he might be able to get past. He still holds it whilst being absolutely squeezed to the outside. He holds it there. But then Short Mark's looking to get a move on his teammate. He's not quite going to make it work there, and this is going to hurt H. Taylor. He needed him to be up behind him a bit longer, or he needed to push Jesse into XD. That way he wouldn't have the problem of XD on fresh mediums behind him. No strategy, no team orders from Aston Martin. They're not going to give the position to Short Marcus, despite them being on two different strategies, and Short Marcus being on the fresh tire. Short Marcus is going to get past eventually anyway, but new teammate not wanting to give away. This isn't the first time we've seen this between two teammates, whether it's in real life Formula 1 or virtual. No driver ever wants to give way, but championship leader XD has a half spin there, drops the position. His tyres are going to be slightly overheated, so he might see Town come at him here. He's going to have DRS down the straight. He'll use overtake, he'll activate DRS. XD also using overtake to the inside, goes Town on his medium tyres, under braking, and that's not what XD wanted, to drop all the way down to P5 now, and that's a problem for XD. But of course that means that H. Taylor now has a gap on P2. Short Marcus gets past his teammate nice and easily there in the Aston Martin, and he's got to gain on H. Taylor. This isn't good for SpongeBob, because if Short Marcus wins this race, he'll take back that P3 in the championship. You can see he sets a purple first sector, and these Aston Martin boys are not giving up. They're going to be a team to look at now with these two drivers. Keep on saying it, and I won't stop saying it until my point is proven. But these guys very much there. All three of these guys in DRS range, as XD was there, but unfortunately had a little half spin there and has dropped down to P5 now, so we'll have to keep an eye on him as he will try to return the position on Town. But you can see Jesse has DRS on Short Marcus has DRS on H. He's gonna want to get past almost instantly on the hash driver, because the longer he sits behind the hash driver on the mediums, the quicker his tires become better. But he'll be able to close up much more now with DRS. With H. Taylor without DRS, Short Marcus sets the fastest lap of the race so far, sits 3/10 back from him so far, for the time being, as they'll come through here. But the straight here is nowhere near long enough to make a move unless you are already side by side after the first part. So he'll sit behind again, and he'll have to look again at the next front straight as he sits behind the Haas driver. Paul Harrison though, I think he's a bit sick of sitting behind KRC. He tried to move before, it didn't work. I'm sure he's going to be looking at trying it again, but for the time being, it's fine. He doesn't want to look for anything too soon. KRC still will have to pit. He won't quite make it to the end either. Of course, Jesse won't make it to the end, so that's still another 2 positions for SpongeBob, and of course XD. So not so much that XD has to worry about, but P2 in the championship, H Taylor is right there. If we look at the championship standings for tier 1, you'll notice that H Taylor only 11 points behind. He's only 11 points behind HT. So as long as he finishes P1 with XD P3 and he gets the fast lap, they'll be tied going into the next race. But even if he wins, he'll be right on the back of him. SpongeBob needs to be ahead of XD2 though. Whether the hard tires will be the right strat or not, I do not think so. That medium tires will last, but will they drop off too much like the soft tire does? If you've seen how much the soft tire drops off, the fronts really wear on any tire. The fronts go a lot. So by the time they get to around about 30-40% worn, they feel terrible. Absolutely gone, and it won't be long until the mediums start to do that. So we might see the hards start to get quite a big advantage around about lap 30 or so. So still won't be for a while, but when we see the advantage, we will see it, and we'll see these drivers start to push and come right on through. Lead pack still going out at H Taylor has now dropped down to P2 as we missed the move for the lead between Short Marcus and H Taylor, but Short Marcus is now into the lead of the Grand Prix and will be looking to pull a second in the gap on H Taylor so that he doesn't have to worry about him coming back at him until possibly later in the Grand Prix. Short Marcus, he's already won a race this season. He did an amazing race at the opener at Silverstone to win a race. He's been sitting P3 almost the whole season, except for of course the first few rounds after he won his race, but he's been sitting P3 for quite a while now, but then dropped last race after he didn't have quite the performance he would have wanted to against SpongeBob. But now SpongeBob isn't having quite the performance, and Short Marcus is having a great performance. He's showing some beautiful pace despite having next to no practice around this track. So for him to be able to do that is quite amazing within a driver. But two Aston Martins still sitting in the top 10. You can see just how much Jesse is struggling now. He's still within DRS range, but not quite. If Short Marcus can pull enough of a gap, and he has done so now, it means that Jesse can stick with H Taylor, possibly even get ahead and still make do. 31 laps on mediums. If Jesse can pull that off, that is one of the best tire saving scenarios I've ever seen, one of the best tire saving stints I have ever seen, because there is no way that is going to happen. But if you can sit behind H Taylor, it may just happen. I don't think in a million years that it could. I don't think that anyone could pull that off without losing too much time. But if he does, well, hands off to him, because that would be a very good job, well done. But we do know Jesse's a wonderful driver. He's got some good race pace, some great quality pace, and we're looking to do more. But XD further behind, he tries the outside on town. It's not quite going to work, but he had DRS again, so we'll turn to what is the outside again, as town says you're not going down my inside net, mate. But look at all the ERSs used. It's not quite working for him. He tries to straight. He's still on the outside there, and there he is on past town. But town might use a bit of ERS there. Here, try to come back at the driver through here. He does have a little look by the looks of things, but it's not quite going to happen. You have to stick behind again and try to make it work. But he's got a lot more ERS than the Ferrari. Look at the Ferrari. Look how low he is. 8% on the Ferrari compared to what looks to be like 15 to 20% on the Mercedes. These drivers both drivers using all their ERS to stay ahead and pass each other over and over and over again. But you can see that Short Marcus has got the gap now, and he's going to be looking to continuously increase that gap, and this is perfect for his teammate, because now his teammate doesn't have to worry too much about losing out because of his pace, because now we gain all that pace that he loses from his tires all back in DRS. You can see 1.1 is the gap, and you can see there no front wing flap open or rear wing flap opening for H. Taylor, and he's just too far behind Short Marks. But first race, Short Marks as a teammate, and he may be looking at a second win of the season. I think the first driver to have repeat wins of the season, if he does this. Race winners so far this season was of course Shaw Marcus in the opening. Then you had Trier round 2, XD round 3. Trier actually repeated round 4, which we missed. Round 5 was Jesse. Then round 6 H Taylor. So there's only been one repeat winner, and that's Trier, who's down in P10 and hasn't been earning any points until this round because he hasn't properly been in a team. But now he's properly earning points for both himself and the team. But perfect scenario for Short Marks here, chilling out front to become the second repeat winner in this league. But of course, imagine if Trier had been earning points. It's just something I want to imagine for 2 seconds. Imagine he had been earning points this entire time. He could be up there with these guys, very much fighting for a championship. And what a fight it would be. Short Marcus versus H. Taylor versus XD versus SpongeBob versus Trier, even Jesse. All these drivers have such good pace, and what a battle it would be to see them all coming out up top for the lead. But of course, the lead up top hasn't changed for quite a while. XD's gap has come down, but then he's extended it right on back up in the next race, so he hasn't had too much to worry about. But as this lap will come to an end, we'll strike 10 laps left in this Grand Prix, and Jesse's tyres 19 laps old. So I was wrong about the 31 laps, but they are going to be 30 laps. We're looking at like 23 laps, the usual tyre life in this, but he is looking to firm it to the end by the looks of this. Either he's firming it to the end or he's going onto a set of soft tyres. But if it was me, I would have just done medium, and if I didn't pit, then you could be pretty certain I was trying to firm it to the end. I wish we had a proper tyre graph of his tyre life so we could see exactly what he is at. But he's dropped outside DRS of H. Taylor now, so not what he would have wanted. His tyres really dropping off. He runs a bit wide, they touches the grass for a split second. Doesn't lose him too much time, but not what he would have wanted. But he's now got XD pushing back towards him now, but behind XD, Town, and Town's bringing along KRC. KRC's bringing along Paul Harrison, and Paul Harrison's bringing along SpongeBob. So this incident from XD has now put a whole train along. XD's now bringing all his friends along to come and play with Jesse, and look just how close the guys are going to be by the time they get around. We've got SpongeBob's going to be sitting quite good on the ERS, I imagine. He is. You can look at all these guys, the ERS of KRC looking very, very good. Same with Town, but both these two drivers up here, up front, not looking very good. Third and fourth, XD and Jesse, using all of their ERS to get past all of these drivers or defend, or even, for Jesse's case, just to keep up. As Jesse gets a 3-second time penalty, and that very much could be it over for him. That's not what he would have wanted. No one else behind him except for the guys that are too far back has penalties, except for SpongeBob. SpongeBob does have a penalty, and it is a 3-second penalty for corner cutting. So of course that will stick. So there's 2 penalties that will stick to the end that we've got to keep an eye on. But the gap still increasing up front, and Jesse not quite within DRS range yet. XD not quite within DRS range yet of Jesse, but give him one more lap and he will just about be there, and it's going to come right down to the last few laps on who finishes where. For all we know, we can still see SpongeBob finish P3, and we can see XD have a huge issue. We've been seeing how aggressive he's gone. He's not giving up. He's a very aggressive driver, and he's showing how much he wants this championship, being super aggressive, trying to get the move done as soon as possible where he can. And I'm sure he won't be holding back too much against Jesse, and especially a driver of his caliber. I wouldn't be holding back that much either, because if you can get ahead of him, you should be able to get ahead of basically anyone at that point. But of course, Jesse's tyres 7 laps older. There's something we've got to keep in mind lap after lap after lap. 7 laps older. It doesn't sound like too much, but it is. It's a lot. And it means that XD is going to just have that much more pace, so probably like a 10th or 2, or maybe even more a lap. Again, if you're not a racing fan, or you're not too much into this, like your first time getting into racing, or leagues or anything like that, or just racing in general, you would 3/10 doesn't sound like too big of a gap. Like 3/10 it sounds quite little, but it's huge. 3/10 of a second doesn't sound huge outside of it, but 3/10 in a second is a massive gap within racing. Where, of course, when they're right behind each other like that, it's not. But when it's qualifying or just over 1 lap pace, it is a lot of time to gain. You can see just how much he is gaining here. He's now got DRS and he's ready to look for a move on Jesse. 7 laps after this will be remaining. Jesse does have to take this 31 laps, so I thought it was 30, I thought it was 31, then I thought it was 30, and now I'm back to 31. We won't know till the end of the race, of course, but Schumacher is still increasing his lead. The hard tyres not moving over yet, not gaining pace on the hard tyres. They are not shifting at all, but I don't think that matters too much to H. Taylor or Schumacher. Of course, H. Taylor needs those hard tyres to shift, but Schumacher is pretty happy at the moment that they aren't. 'Cause the moment they start to move right, of course, by the time lap 30 hits, that's when I think those hard tyres will really start to see an advantage. We could see a last lap battle very much for the win in this race, and you can see here it could be between 7 drivers, maybe even 8 if Paul Harrison closes up. We missed the incident with Paul Harrison, but it's been enough to drop him back. As Jesse's came into the pits, he's realised his medium tyres aren't gonna last, and that does put XD up a position, and it actually gives him enough to keep Town behind him enough to the point where Town won't be able to do anything. So XD could be good for P3 here, and he's going to look to head towards H. Taylor, but I think H. Taylor's just a bit too far down the road for him, unfortunately. But unless H. Taylor catches short markers, we shouldn't be having to worry. SpongeBob stuck up behind KRC still, but KRC still looking at what I believe will be another pit stop. I don't believe he can make that last to the end. It's gonna be a lot to ask, but if it will last, not, we'll have to see. Jesse should be able to get the fastest lap though. He came out P9. He should get past Mitch quite quickly for P8, and then he should be able to hit the fastest lap. So he's still getting enough points to maybe rise Aston Martin up the table a bit more, especially if Short Marcus can hold on to this lead. But laps are ticking down now, and the gain that H. Taylor is making is not becoming that much bigger to the point where it could be a threat to Short Marcus. So Short Marcus could have done this perfectly. Because every lap they are still going to get more and more of an advantage. The advantage is going to, it's a very small amount that it starts to creep up, but it will start to do so. Of course, but the close battle we're going to see here is between the McLaren, the Mercedes, and the AlphaTauri. SpongeBob qualified on pole, but the safety car just screwed over him and Jesse. Jesse was just praying that either his tyres would last to the end, or that another safety car would be called, but it just didn't work out for him, and he's had to pit again, go for another pit stop. He should have pitted like SpongeBob, gone for another set of mediums and gone to the end, but he decided he didn't want to. SpongeBob decided he did want to, and it's worked out better for him in terms of track position, but with his time penalties, he may still just about drop behind Jesse here. If Jesse can put in good enough laps, he might just do something. He might even be able to get Paul Harrison Jesse, but then never mind, Jesse does have 3 seconds as well, so it means that he's got to catch up, pull a gap on Paul Harrison, but then at the same time stay within 3 seconds of SpongeBob. So it's going to require a lot for for Jesse to get much more than what he has at the moment, but we know he's a great driver, so we wouldn't put it past him. But Sean Mark is still gaining out front, so not much to worry about there. But as we move back, you've still got these guys quite close to each other, all within DRS range. He has a little move, look to the inside there. It's not going to happen for KRC. He's trying to push Town into a mistake. He needs him to make a mistake. KRC is going to try to push it to the end. You can see fastest lap there, set by Jesse. He's going to take it with a 16.8 on a set of soft tyres, but right on the back of each other these guys are, and they will be trying absolutely everything. You can see that KRC's been using a lot of his ERS now to get past these guys, all running quite similar ERS. We shouldn't have to worry too much. They shouldn't have to worry too much about one having more ERS than the other. But 5 laps remain. It's really coming down to the wire between who will finish ahead of these guys. Of course, SpongeBob, he will most likely finish P6 no matter what because of his penalties, but it feels much better to finish higher on track and drop behind with penalties than finish behind and then drop even further behind with penalties. Although he wouldn't get P4 overall with penalties to get it on track. It does feel quite good as KRC has a little moment there and allows SpongeBob to go right on by, and now SpongeBob can have his chance at town. He does have the pace. The high tires are going to start to have it looked up an advantage as Paul Harrison in the Williams does make a mistake. That's going to allow Jesse to go past. Now all Jesse has to do is pull a 3-second gap, on Paul Harrison. I know it is quite a big gap to pull, but to do it on a set of soft tires, it isn't that much of a big deal. It shouldn't be that difficult for him. Now that KRC has had the moment he's dropped down, it means that SpongeBob now has his chance. Oh, and there's been a disconnection from Short Marcus. He's gonna go, and it's all over for Short Marcus. He is going so slow, and that is absolutely devastating for him. He had the lead. He was looking to become the second repeat winner of the season, but instead H. Taylor is going to look to become the second repeat winner, as he will overtake the ghosted car. He has a little bit of a moment there, but he overtakes the ghosted car and takes the lead in this race. Absolutely gutting for Short Marcus in the Aston Martin. Not what you want to see from but yeah, it's unfortunate to see, but it's interesting that it happens, man. Sometimes you do disconnect. He could come back, he could still do something, but if he's going to come back, he's got to do it quick. He cannot afford to. There he goes, he's back. He could still jump in the car and still do something, so we'll keep an eye there. We don't want to lose that too much, but he needs to get in now. He needs to take back control. We're watching him. When will he take back control? Look how slow the car just goes. He's not within DRS range anymore of H. Taylor. He needed DRS. He wasn't holding that much quicker pace. Can he retake over? Just at least hold the position so that XD doesn't then go flying past. And when will he take over? XD pushing the limits of that car, looking to get towards Short Marcus. You can see he's now in DRS range of the S1 driver. And there you go. He's back. He's retaken over. And he's pushing once again in his Aston Martin. H. Taylor has the lead now, so Short Marcus will be gutted, absolutely gutted after that. But what can you do except continue to push and do the best you can? SpongeBob, oh, and SpongeBob has been pit maneuvered by Town. Town goes for way too big of a move, pit maneuvers SpongeBob, and that is SpongeBob's race. Good and over, and KRC pits to oh, and it was very close in the pit lane between the two drivers. But KRC pits as well to get rid of those mediums. He doesn't believe it's going to last to the end, but it was only 2 more laps to go, so he could have done something. Both drivers are going to go into the soft. They're both going to have fastest lap attempts. One has to change the front wing. Actually, they both had to change the front wing in the end. So if SpongeBob can get past him, he can have got the fastest lap. SpongeBob probably is more likely to steal it from Jesse than KRC, but of course they will have lower fuel than when Jesse did it, so they can still make something happen. Somehow Jesse has still managed P5 in this race, but well, how much that has just turned on its head in these closing laps is insane. XD, all of the back of Short Marcus, is going to look to give it everything, but his AI would have saved a decent amount of energy there. We've got 1 more lap in the race here. They're on the penultimate lap now, but as H. Taylor comes to the final corner, he will come around to start the final lap, and all he has to do is take it nice and easy. He has a 2.6 second buffer to the car behind. He doesn't have to push that hard. These two drivers, though, they're going to have to push for everything if they want to finish where they are, but by the time they get past the 2 DRS zones, where are they going to overtake? There's not many spots to overtake past that first DRS zone. You can see XD doesn't have the ERS really to fight it either, so Short Marcus just really has to take it easy as well, and he's got that P2 in the bag, but I'm sure he's not going to be happy with that because he knows he should have won this race. He knows he had race winning pace, but it just didn't go his way with a short disconnection and a lap under AI is never good. That's going to lose you like 2 or 3 seconds, especially when the AI is set to as low as they would have it in a league racing. Not what you would have wanted, but it happens. Very unfortunate. You'll have to move on after this race because it's just how close these drivers are to the back of each other. These guys pushing for fastest lap, but they can't push for fastest lap when they're all over the back of each other. Of course, fastest lap is only 1 point. To sit behind, to get the position on another car is a whole other point. But these guys on the exact same tyres, on the exact same amount of fresh. One of these guys is going to set the fastest lap, but who? You never know. Jesse may still be able to hold on to the fastest lap, but look just how close he guys. As H. Taylor comes across the line, he wins the Hungary Grand Prix. The Hungarian Grand Prix wins P1 with short Marcus close behind P2, and then XD not far behind him, P3. Very unfortunate for short Marcus. He definitely could have won this race. Town brings it home P5, but I'm sure there's going to be an incident report coming his way after pit maneuvering. SpongeBob in the AlphaTauri. Jesse somehow manages to hold it for P5 in the end for his first race in the Aston Martin team. Then KRC brings it home P6 ahead of Mitch, P7, and then once SpongeBob serves his penalties, he is P8. Paul Harrison will come across the line and he is P9, and then Troye finishing P10. But if I was short Marcus, I'd be absolutely gutted. That is so unfortunate. Not what he would have wanted, but what a Hungarian Grand Prix. No rain, surprisingly, but still an entertaining race nonetheless. You can see there H. Taylor becoming the second repeat winner of the season behind Troye, and pushing his lead further towards XD and bringing it down to just 1 point between the two drivers. If it hadn't have been for short Marcus disconnect, it wouldn't have been anywhere near that many points, but with the disconnect it is, and I'm sure that is very, very good news for H. Taylor, and that is exactly what he wants, but not the news that XD would have wanted. Unless there is the grid, a lot of penalties up and down, but it is as it shows there, a beautiful race, and H. Taylor does take the win from 13th spot on the grid. Another beautiful last to first drive from H. Taylor. And then short Marcus P2, he's going to be gutted after he knows he could have won this race. Then Town P4, Jesse took home P5 in the end, KRC P6, Mitch P7, SpongeBob P8, Paul Harrison P9, and then Troye finishes off the top 10. The rest of the drivers all DNFing. But with that being said, thank you guys for coming around for the round 7 at the Hungarian Grand Prix for OBF1 for Tier 1, and I'll catch you guys next time for Catalonia for Spain. So let's just hope that isn't Spain without the S. Let's hope that is a bit more fun. But with that being said, I'll catch you guys next time for the Spanish Grand Prix.